The November jobs report just confirms what we all knew to be true. I mean, it 100% confirms it. In the same amount of time, data shows that 297,000 Black women lost their jobs. Almost 300,000 Black women lost their position. At that same time, men as a whole, as a group, they gained 621,000 positions. 621,000 jobs new for men. I wonder where they got those jobs. I wonder whose jobs those were in the first place. Those 621,000 jobs that men as a group gained in the same amount of time that nearly 300,000 Black women lost their jobs. And it wasn't just jobs. These were high-wage jobs in finance, in government, in professional services specifically. Almost like they're being pushed out. I wonder why. I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder who is feeling threatened by the most educated group in our country.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the alarming rate at which Black women in America are losing their jobs. And this is not because they're not qualified for these jobs. It's not because they're not educated enough for these jobs. So what exactly is happening in America, and why is it that Black women are always on the receiving end of anything that happens fast in America?
Right, and as according to one of our speakers who will be speaking today, she categorically states that according to the November jobs report, Black women lost their jobs in a high rate, whereas men, twice the number of how Black women lost their jobs, got jobs.
Right, guys, let me just remind you about the Project 2025 and its existence, right? But I don't want to talk a lot because we'll be coming back with our commentaries. For now, let's watch what we prepared for you, and then we come back and talk about it. You can let us know your thoughts and opinion. Also consider subscribing, right?
Right, let's watch and then we come back.
I will not mince my words. Black women are being pushed out of the workforce. The exit economy is referring to the fact that over 300,000 Black women have been pushed out of the labor force this year alone. White men have about a 3.2% unemployment rate. White women sit at about 3.4%. Now the unemployment rate for Black women is sitting between 6.5 and 7%. There are a lot of contributing factors, but economists say these are the top three. Companies have pulled back from DEI initiatives, and those roles historically have been held by Black women. All businesses have been crushed by tariffs, and federal government layoffs in the US. Black women are highly represented in public sector roles in the government. This is largely because the government has things like standardized hiring practices, merit-based promotions and raises, obviously can help reduce discrimination-based hiring and promotions decisions, so the best person can get the job. Economists say that this stat is a canary in a coal mine, meaning this is indicative of more labor market issues for all of us. But once again, Black women's labor is being undervalued. Breaking news, the government needs to do better. If you are in a position where you are hiring people, can you please make sure you are actually hiring the most qualified person for the job? Because if you were, Black women would be equally represented in the public and private.
I had a Black dude who was celebrating that those Black women lost their job. Talk about, oh, now all y'all 300,000. I said, okay. I said, do you understand the money that took out of Black neighborhoods? Do you know how many of them Black women probably head of their households? Or how many of them Black women who was married and 50% of their money paid for everything that was in that household? I said, so why are you celebrating? You better understand the way they're trying to purposely decimate us. This whole thing with Trump and a lot of them, it's about messing our Black money. I don't care how you want to play it. I said, when he got an NIL, that's what my homeboy called me. He said, you right. Because why you in NIL? Majority of athletes is getting paid what color?
Black.
There you go. So why you bothering with the NIL? The whole setup, you find all them government employees because that's the highest rate of government. Black people is employed by the government. You around here coming after all the DIs. Now you got what the colleges saying they can't even recruit doggone and for DI initiatives or certain HBCU colleges. The whole thing is to mess about money because, like he said, the Mexicans were taking Black people jobs, right? You think that was just something his slick self was saying? He trying to have us out here picking tomatoes and cotton. But I am my ancestors. I'll burn that whole farm down first.
Why are Black women, you think, being affected at this level? And do you think that it seems that they're being specifically targeted?
Well, that's what, I can't speak to what exactly is happening in terms of being specifically targeted. What I can tell you is that the numbers are staggering. When we look at Black women, over 600,000 have been economically sidelined. One of the things that we look at is that if you compare it to white women, Black women's labor force is about 5 times smaller than white women. If white women had been economically sidelined at the same rate as Black women, we would be talking about over 3 million white women. That's the entire labor force of Pennsylvania. I mean, this impact is massive.
Unemployment for Black women is above 6%, and if this was happening to any other demographic in the United States of America, we would be talking about it constantly. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Since February of this year, unemployment rates for Black women have increased month over month by at least half to 1%, which is huge. It is estimated by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics that between February and March, when the bulk of federal layoffs happened in the first round, Black women lost 250,000 plus jobs. That's huge. I think it needs to be explicitly said that it's not an accident that the president's administration has been targeting DEI as well as the federal workforce, because Black women are overrepresented in those job categories and in that workforce. And the targeting of those two sectors was a deliberate choice that was made in order to increase unemployment amongst Black people, and specifically Black women.
I just seen this video. For some reason I can't stitch right now, but her name is Mental Money. She said it's a reason why Black women don't have jobs right now. It's done intentionally and it's done on purpose. When a Black woman is oppressed, a Black woman will rise up farther than you even thought she was going to. So when you purposefully are firing and not hiring Black women, it's because you know that they're going to build a business. They can't sit at your table, they're gonna make their own table. That's what we do. Be careful about who you hire. Just like they did that one girl with I forgot her name, but she had some type of hair company. These white men let her build that company. All of her ideas were good. Everything was good. It was proper. Let her build it to the point where it needed to be built. And the minute they had the chance, they stole it from up under her. And then she was found dead. And you thinking it's from strangers. It's the people that you put at your table. Be careful about the people that you put at your table who can come and eat with you. Because they see you, they know exactly who you are. Open your business, but watch who you sit at your table.
In case you didn't catch this, the reason why 300,000 Black women have been out of work since March has less to do with the fact that there are federal cuts and DEI freezing, and more to do with the fact that we're supposed to be humbling for what we've been doing since 2020. In 2020, a lot of Black women were put into positions of power where we got to do what we were actually asked to do. We got into higher positions, we did really well at our jobs, and we weren't grateful about it or humble because we were good at what we did. And I think in this new administration, you're seeing a retaliation for the fact that we were quite good at what we did, and we asked for what we wanted, and we deserved what we wanted. I do think the economy is going to pick up again in the next couple of months, not like this year, but around maybe March 2025 or 26, when people have a better understanding of what their budgets are. But Black women are going to be asked to come back because we're good at what we do. When we do get asked to come back, we're going to be asked to come back for less and do more. The reason we're out of work for this long is to make us humble, so that when we are asked to come back to work, we'll be asked to do less for more, and we'll be grateful to do it. Now you know.
Hey y'all, this is a call to action to the 92, specifically the 92% of us that are currently working. Our sisters are being pushed out of work at alarming rates, and it's time for us to clock in. Over 100,000 Black women lost their jobs just in the month of April. We are losing our jobs faster than any other demographic in this country, and as of today, more than 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs. That's not just numbers and statistics, that's actual families. That's rent, that's food on the table. Right now, too many of us are scrambling and suffering in silence and being dragged through systems that are created to exhaust us. And we cannot just allow our sisters and their loved ones to starve while waiting on delayed benefits and blocked aid. This is our moment to do what we've always done as a community and turn towards one another. I understand the economy and inflation is beating all of our asses, but all of us can do something, even if we don't have financial means. If you've ever been unemployed, share your best practices below. How did you make it through? If you know of resources, job leads, aid programs, drop them below. If you are in need, drop your GoFundMes below. If you have even additional $5 to give this month, this week, do what you can. It could literally be the difference between a pack of ramen noodles that can feed a family and not. It makes a difference. So don't think that anything is too small not to contribute. If you're able to offer extra groceries, to give rides, offer babysitting services, all of that matters. This is not charity. This is community. This is who we are. This is us refusing to leave each other behind no matter how bad it gets. So if you haven't already, let's start showing up for each other. Let's be loud about it. Let's be visible. Let's be generous. We are a communal people, and we were never supposed to exist without the village. Community and deep care is how we've always gotten through, and this is no different. Don't let all of the noise and the distraction take your attention away from the support that you can provide for our sisters right in front of you. We got this.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about the videos you just played you. Yeah, I normally feel like someone once said that when chaos happened, it's not that it happened out of the blues. Yeah,
somebody meant to cover up something, a bigger picture that none of us are seeing,
and it's meant to distract the mass so that they don't talk about the real thing that is going on. And right now, there's been a lot of noises in America that it's quite hard to really put your hand on what to focus on, If I could start talking about the noises that we've been getting from America, there's plenty of them, from the ending of DEI, from the ending of the, SNAP benefits. A lot has been happening, really, to the deportation of, what are they called, the Latinos. And right now, the biggest noise on the internet, I would say, is the Somali deportation and the whole saga, right? But all this, while all this is happening, we are also losing focus to the fact that this November report has come out, and it's highlighting a lot of
at which Black women are losing their jobs despite being highly qualified for the same jobs,
right? And we are also not talking about, there was a time when people were really focusing on the Project 2025, and people had begun having these conversations about them,
and likening them to the real events that were happening in America,
right? And we also saw a situation where separatism was happening. White people wanted white-only towns. All of that was happening. And
to which Black Americans did not care about their separatism. As a matter of fact, they were encouraging white America to separate. And it reached a point where white Americans started wondering why Black Americans were so comfortable with the separatism. And they started bringing themselves back into the fold again.
Right. So I'm just going to bring you back to a word one of our speakers said, and she was talking about when she thinks about it, Black women are being dismissed so that they can get hired back again, and then they can be paid less what they were being paid, but
and their work, their workload can be increased,
right? And guys, that's also a possibility, because I feel like Black Americans, when it comes to the women in America, they're the most disrespected group, and they're the most discardable, just because of how the system has been set up. It does not mean that Black American women are not valuable, but for some reason
the system treats them as if they're dispensable,
right? And for this reason, I don't know if a lot of us have heard about Black American women being the most educated demography in America, and so I decided to ask Google, right? Because I want to better understand. Right? Because I know also, other than the fact that being a woman plays against you, also race has a lot to do with this, So I asked Google, are black women the most educated in the US? Because I want to understand, right? And Google, of course, has a lot of answers, but I'm just going to read the top ones, right? So Google says the statement that black women are the most educated group in the US requires nuance and depends on how educated is defined, right?
Okay.
And it further goes on to say, in terms of higher enrollment / graduation rates, black women have historically led and continue to lead in certain metrics related to college enrollment and graduation rates relative to other groups. They enroll in college at higher rates than many of their counterparts across different racial and gender groups. So this, I want to assume I'm comparing them to, let's begin with white women and also compare them to the Asian women. You can clearly see how black American women send themselves out there and how hard they work in order to be able to get what they have. And you cannot look at this without also looking at the history where black women were really, what can you call it? They were really, a lot of hurdles was put in front of them to even get anything they wanted to get, So you could understand why the thirst for education for black women and why they really needed to get jobs to support themselves, because they had to fight for a lot of things,
Right.
Another one, they say rate of increase. They have demonstrated the most significant gains and the highest rate of increase in education attainment, particularly at the graduate level over recent decades, because I believe at some point the excuse that they were using for to not hire black women was because they used to say there's a reason where there's a point where that saying that black Americans are uneducated, a lot of them don't like schools, that saying came from somewhere, and it was a stereotype that was created from somewhere, and black women worked hard to, denounce those kind of stereotypes, only for 2025 to come for the government to put it in such a way that black women are being affected the most in terms of losing jobs, despite the accolades they've managed to achieve and the high education they've managed to achieve, I'm going to read the third reason Google gave in terms of if black American women are the most educated in America, right? So far, I've read for you too. The last one, total number of degrees. And they say, however, when looking at the absolute total number of degrees held across the entire US population, white individuals, both men and women, hold the highest percentage of degrees at all levels. That is associates, bachelors, masters, and doctorate. Yeah? Asian women and men also hold high rates of degrees, often influenced by immigration pathways for skilled workers. And guys, let's just look at that when they're talking about total degrees. If you're categorizing this highly educated in terms of degrees held, and the first demography that they've started with is white individuals, being white men and white women. And my question is, guys, why do you think that is? I feel like it's because, this is just my opinion, the system for a long time has favored white people. Even colleges, there was a point where black people had to fight to go to schools, during slaveries. You can remember that black slaves,
especially white men, were the only ones who were allowed to go to school.
Exactly. Black people were not being allowed to even learn how to read or write, So already we have a situation where we have a historical
Americans, black Americans already started at a disadvantage and had to fight for the right to be educated.
Right.
And once they did that, they had to do it even more so that they could be allowed to get proper jobs,
right? Because black Americans realized that now they're using education in order to give jobs, right? And they went out there, they did everything they're supposed to do. So the question is, why is it that right now black people are being affected more, so black women, when it comes to losing jobs, and their white counterparts are just okay,
if anything, the men are getting jobs right now. And this this episode actually reminded me something that a subscriber once wrote in our comment section, because we have also done an episode similar to this when Black Americans were losing their jobs in high numbers, right? So this subscriber said in the comment section that if there are Black people in the Black community who can be able to afford starting a business, they should do that in order for them to control their own narratives, right? And he also said that these Black people, once they've set up their own businesses, they need to hire Black workers, right? And he also went on to say that Black people who are shopping should support only Black-owned businesses, no matter how small or big. And this is how the Black American community will build its wealth to a point where they will no longer be able to be controlled for the most part by white America or white-owned jobs, you know.
Right. I feel like that would be really good. I do believe that there's such a structure that exists, but I feel like
it will take a long time, but it can happen.
Right. But I feel like we need more of those systems and structures that favor Black people, so that when things like this happen, you're not at the mercy of the system, you know.
Yeah, you have a place to go.
Right. Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here, and we'll catch you on our next episode.